Hello and welcome back to Walk the Cinema podcast, where we walk the cinema so we can talk the cinema. Today's episode, we are talking about a French classic, Amélie.
So you've been wanting to rewatch this for a long time.
Yes.
What about it made you want to rewatch it so bad and then make an episode about it?
Well, the first time I watched it, I've only seen it twice, but the first time I watched it, I didn't really know what to make of it. Like, it was good, but there was something about it that, like, drew me to it. And I wanted to revisit it and kind of see if I liked it more or if, like, there were some things that I missed, you know?
There's definitely things you miss. With mostly every movie, but this one in special.
Yeah, especially since, like, I don't know. It's filmed in such a way that it's not like other films. But there's something childish about it, and
it's quirky in a like fantasy way, but it's real. It's in the real world.
It's still rooted in reality.
But it feels like a little fantasious. I think with the art direction they took, which got an Oscar nomination, they cleaned up a lot of the streets in Paris and made them look more idealized for the overall aesthetic of the movie being so rooted in fantasy.
I see what you're saying. So for those of you that haven't seen Amélie, which
you should.
Yes, if you haven't, you should. But
it really is a must watch if you haven't seen it.
If you're listening and you haven't seen it, the premise of it is basically about this young woman who lives in France, and she grew up lonely, like a kid that didn't have any friends, really.
Yeah, we see that in, the beginning of the film. It's a montage of her youth, her young years, all the quirks she went through.
Yeah, and like
up until her mom kills herself.
No, her mom didn't kill herself.
It wasn't suicide?
No. The mom, the lady, the tourist jumped from the Notre Dame and landed on her mom.
See, for some reason I wrote in my notes that her mom committed suicide. But we see her life from literally conception. And then the birth. And then we get those younger years that explain why she is the way she is. She did grow up lonely.
And it was all kind of due to unfortunate circumstances, I guess. Like, nothing was really wrong with her, but I guess, like, with the misunderstanding between her father listening to her heartbeat go rapid whenever he checked her, he thought she had a heart condition, which wasn't the case. It was just she was excited that her dad was showing her a very small level of affection when he normally didn't, And the fact that her mom was killed by a tourist committing suicide, and the fish jumped out of the bowl and she thought it was she thought the fish was committing suicide, like they're all kind of unfortunate events that happened to her. But we see her, the main story takes place as her as a young woman being kind of quirky and trying to fix other people's lives when she herself, is lonely. She
doesn't have much of a life.
Yeah.
Outside from her little world where she lives in their apartment. She goes to shop for produce.
And she has a job as a waitress.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So she has these kind of side adventures in the movie where she kind of sticks up for the produce boy with his boss, and writes a letter to this lady as in the voice of this lady's lost husband who left her, and visits the glass man, who is also kind of similar to her in a way, where he's lonely. He was never allowed out because his bones were frail and such.
I'd say there's like two main side adventures where she forms the couple at the place she works, with the woman that sells the tobacco and the guy that sits there following his ex, kind of stalking her, really. And then there's the adventure where she finds a box inside of her bathroom walls. And then she wants to return it to the person that left it there because it was his childhood memories. And that's the one that really starts her streak of good doings in her head. At least they're good doings.
Yeah, and some of them I think are a little misguided, and some of them turn out really well, I'd say.
Yeah.
Like her first one, returning the box of childhood things to the man, made him reconnect with his daughter and led him to facilitate a meeting with his grandson, you know? And she ends up meeting this man who also has a lot of quirks. She sees him at a train station, and he's collecting something from underneath photo booths, and she doesn't really know what that is, but later we find out he collects these pictures that people had discarded and keeps them in a photo album, and that's just one of his quirks.
Which on the side note, that's creepy. But it looked really cool.
Yeah, no,
whatever they did with that particular prop was really cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It kind of was like, oh, I should do that. And they're like, oh no, it's really creepy. I'm not going to do that. But yeah, it's cool.
But just taking the movie overall at its value is it's so unique.
Yeah.
It's the character Amélie is like so naive and I don't know, still has that kind of childlike wonder and amazement at certain things.
I think that the main actress in this, Audrey, did a really good job at establishing this character for what it is. I don't think other people could pull it off exactly the way she did. And it is unique to her. And this is an iconic character now. She is one of the pixie dream girls that people label, which I dislike, but...
Yeah, I dislike that as a whole, but I guess I get what they're going
She is an idealized version of a woman.
Yeah, because, she's, still kind of naive. She's still trying to figure out the world. She's young. She doesn't have a lot of experience with things. And I guess just to talk about, like, what I liked about the movie, the whole plot line with her trying to get Nino is the man she meets, his photography book back.
Well, she meets him, but he doesn't meet her until the end.
Yeah.
He's kind of chasing that shadow that she leaves behind the whole movie.
Because it's kind of like a scavenger hunt that she puts together for him.
And that's the cutesy romantic part of it, which I guess would qualify this as a rom-com.
I'd say it's a rom-com, but like I think it's more along the lines of a romance. I don't know. Because she like you said earlier, she gets two people together, which I think is one of her unsuccessful musings, because
it worked for her, but I don't really think it worked for the people involved.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think she was misguided with that one because, the man that she set Georgette up with is kind of a psychopath. He's
very controlling,
and like pretty much stalks her.
And in real life, bad. Don't do that. But in the movie, it's pretty funny, actually.
It's kind of funny, but it's like, if this is a real person,
no, obviously,
run for the hills.
But in the movie, it's pretty funny that he records the tiniest little details, and it's pretty psychotic, though.
Yeah.
If you take it off of a comedy film, it's pretty bad.
He uses the alpha male terminology at one point, where he's like, she's using her womanly wiles to capture an alpha male.
I think in French it's more of a dominant male.
Maybe, but still.
But yeah, the translation is alpha male to the English, because podcast is in English. We are English speakers, so we had to go by the subtitles mostly.
But yeah, that one's kind of a miss for me in terms of her doing a good deed. And the same thing with the woman who lost her husband. Her husband left her
with another woman.
For another woman, yes. They moved to South America, and
is Panama South America?
I mean, it's Central America.
That's something that the movie did wrong, isn't it?
Well, I mean, you could still classify it as South America,
I suppose.
But either way,
in France, you don't learn Central America. In Europe, in general, you learn North America and South America. And America itself is one continent.
Yeah. But either way, that's kind of neither here nor there, but she lost her husband. He ended up dying over there with the woman that he left her for.
Yeah.
And Amélie sees this article in a newspaper that they recovered a long-lost carton of mail from a plane crash in the mountains.
That scene in particular, she finding that news when it was the day of Lady Diana dying, that shows her
attention to detail, kind of.
And her wonder, her childish wonder. She doesn't care about this, I guess, celebrity dying. She's more interested in how cool it is that they found letters in a mountain.
Yeah. And so she takes that idea and writes the woman a letter in the voice of her husband, saying that he regretted leaving her and that he loved her and that he was hoping for a better
Why do you
day.
think that's a myth? Because I think it made the woman feel a lot better.
I think it would feel a lot better, but it also feels a little deceptive. And I know she's doing a good thing, but it's like,
it's deceptive, but it hurts no one.
I guess.
In the end, I know what you're saying, that you don't want the husband to look good because he's not a good person.
Well, it's not even that. It's just like, I don't know. If the woman ever found out that was a fake letter, it wouldn't be good.
I personally wouldn't say it's a complete miss. It worked out for everyone involved.
I just think it's misguided.
Okay.
But she also develops a friendship with the glass man, and he's kind of her. I would liken it to like a fairy godmother, kind of. He's the one that gives her advice. He's the one that tells her
in some ways
she needs to be more assertive.
He makes that video. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if it's a real video, because that part of the movie starts getting a lot into her imagination. But he sees him tell her that she needs to go for it. Mm-hmm. And that's when she tries to run after the guy. Nino,
yeah. But he was already there.
Yeah.
And then also, I think one of the other big things that happen in the movie is her kind of revenge plot on the produce manager, because he's really mean to his produce boy, because he's slow, he's socially awkward. She takes
a lot of liking to the produce boy.
Yeah. In a protective kind of way, I guess.
Like friend. It's not romantic.
No. But it's friend. And it's like kind of psychotic the way that she does things.
Yeah.
Like she breaks into his house and moves things slightly and changes the size of things and ever so slightly, so it's like making him lose his mind.
Yeah, it's pretty advanced messing with someone. It's not something regular people would do.
Yeah, but I guess that's like her character,
In the context of the film, it doesn't feel malevolent that she's doing it. It does feel like a small gotcha.
Mm-hmm. But if you think about it for long enough, it's like, ooh, okay. But another thing that I feel like is worth mentioning is, especially at the beginning, like after we see her like transition from childhood to adulthood, we have that scene where it talked about how she had a boyfriend, or she tried to have a boyfriend a couple times, but it never worked out, and it's like very sexual, because it's like kind of a sex scene, not really, but kind of.
It's more of a humorous.
Yeah. But you know what I mean. I think that's probably one of the things I like least about this movie, is that particular scene. It's like not even that big. It's a second long scene, but it feels too promiscuous for her character.
I think that plays into her being a pixie dream girl, where she's not very out there, but when she is with someone, she'll do the things they want, I suppose, which is what the man want.
I guess, but it's like it wasn't even that they played into that. It's just like I think that her character to me isn't very sexual, you know, because she's still kind of...
Yeah, but that's my point. She's not very sexual, but she's sexual enough to not be a child.
Yeah, I guess that's why they showed it, but it still felt to me too jarring. Like, it's like your character is more romantic than sexual in my mind.
Very much so, yeah.
You know, she's I would say she's a helpless romantic, because she's kind of like, she feels like she has known Nino her whole life because their souls are kind of together. You know what I mean?
He does too.
Yeah, he does too. And we see like the scene where he also kind of has those similar musings, I guess, like imagination types things where
he sees the photo moving.
Yeah.
The photo that she left as a clue.
Yeah.
Moving and talking to him in his sleep.
And she does the same thing with like animals and, you know.
She daydreams a lot.
Yeah. So they're very similar in that way, and you kind of get the feeling that the movie is kind of playing into them being soulmates, I would say.
Yeah.
And the thing that I think I like most about this movie is during the part, like the scavenger hunt for finding the photo album and then having Nino kind of try to find her.
Yeah.
We come across the plot line of the man that keeps leaving his photos everywhere.
Yeah.
And, you know, she originally had seen it in the photo booth where she found 12 pictures of the same man, not smiling, just neutral all around town from different photo booths. And we finally figure out at the very end of that sequence that he's the photo booth repairman, and he has to take the picture to make sure everything's good.
That's a moment that you said you couldn't relive.
Yeah.
That's a moment you said you couldn't relive because it's so unique.
Yeah, it's like...
You can't be prepared for that because where else have you seen that? You've never seen it.
Yeah, because they talked about like, oh, what could he be doing? Like, is he afraid to grow old? And
they fantasize about why he might be taking so many pictures around town, never smiling.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, I love watching this movie and finding new things about it, but that's like kind of the thing that makes me wish I could erase a movie from my mind to enjoy all over again, you know?
Definitely. That's a very good part of the movie.
Yeah, it's probably my favorite thing about this movie.
There's a lot to like. There's a reason a lot of people like this. It is quirky. Which it could play very wrongly to make a movie that's so quirky and unique, but this one didn't. It's
quirky and it kind of feels like nostalgic. In a way.
Yeah, it's definitely a feel-good movie for us. I don't know if it's for everyone, but I know a lot of people do go to it when they're feeling down or... Because it's not heavy on the plot. Mm-mm. The plot could be dumbed down a lot and you can make a worse movie out of it, but they managed to make a go-to movie with a lot of cinematic qualities, but that doesn't melt your brain every time you want to watch it.
Yeah, it's definitely on people's comfort movie list. So, what did you rate it?
I gave it an 8. I think it's very unique and it's special, and I love watching it and go back to it, but I don't think it's that amazing like a lot of people do. Still think it could do more, but at the same time, I don't want it to do more because I'm very happy with what it is.
Yeah, I had originally given it an 8, but after watching it through again, I think I am raising it to a 9 because I just think it's so good. It's so fun. I feel like I noticed a whole bunch of things that I didn't before, such as like the blind man shows up more often than I thought.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
He shows up 3-4 times.
Yeah. So it's kind of like those kind of non-important type
more
scenes,
of a bonus that make you smile when you notice it.
And I think that it does give me that feeling of like nostalgia. Which I've mentioned in previous episodes that I really like that feeling. So I think it's great. But so yeah, that's all we have for this episode. If you want to like, subscribe, leave us a comment, anything like that. We love having your comments and all that jazz. So that's all we have. See you next time.